So you were telling me about your day, your week.
Yeah, yeah. Monday was very, very hectic. I have twin toddlers. They're 19 months now, so they had two appointments. I met with three clients. That was before 3 o'clock. So just running around constantly. So it's yeah, booked and blessed, I guess. Booked and
Oh
blessed.
yeah, I mean, can't complain, but we definitely have to find that work life balance. Busy week, yes. Pet peeve as well. Do you have any pet peeves? Cause
Oh, I have a lot. Think of. What's what's yours?
so before I say my pet peeve, I'm gonna put a disclaimer out. I do not hate animals. I love dogs actually, but I just have my boundaries and my limits, and I think there should be boundaries and limits. So
Yes.
I think it was Wednesday. I was coming home on the train and on the path, and it was packed, right? And we stopped at what stop did we stop at? I want to say it was probably Ninth Street
Mm.
or Christopher Street, and this lady came on with her dog. Now, this is not a small little cute chihuahua or whatever. It's a good sized dog, and she comes in on the train with the dog in her hand. And she stands right in the middle of the doorway, and I'm to the corner holding on, and there's this other guy to the corner holding on there. And because the train is so packed and the dog is so big, she is struggling to hold the dog. It is butting on me. Then she got to put it down and all this kind of stuff. And I was so annoyed because I'm like, I thought in the dogs are supposed to be in something like a bag or something like that so that
Yeah.
it doesn't. And I thought to myself, how have we become as human beings that we are not considerate to others around us? You don't know who might be allergic on the train towards dogs, especially when they're shaking. They can pick up pollen and all that stuff outside that people would be allergic to. And you just come in and you don't care, and you just assuming that everyone is gonna love your dog and everyone is
Yeah.
gonna want to pet your dog and no one is gonna have a problem. And I just don't think that's fair. It's a big pet peeve of mine. I don't like to see that. I was at the Cheesecake Factory the other day, and this lady brought her dog into the
No.
restaurant. I kid you not. I am serious.
And she was like, "Oh, it's my emotional support dog." I'm like, "You're in the Cheesecake Factory."
Yes, in the restaurant. I did not sign up to be eating and having this a dog next to me eating with me. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I know a lot of people who's listening might not agree with me, but dogs are not human beings. We love them, and there are certain places that they should not go, and there should be some boundaries.
Yes, I agree. I have a dog, and I'm like, no. I would say my dog pet peeve is when people have them off leash, and it's not like in a dog park, they're walking them, but the dog is just off leash. And they're like, "Oh, it's fine." I'm like, "Great, but no, it's not okay because your dog may generally be fine, but if someone acts spooked, the dog's gonna get spooked. So put your dog on a leash. If it's on your
Exactly.
property, fine. If it's at a dog park, fine. Put your dog on a leash." I never understand that. Like, I'm like, and I,
Uh,
I, um, I hate, I hate the. See, I told you I have a lot of them. Like, you got me going now. It's like I hate the term fur babies.
uh,
No, it's not the same. They're not the same. They're not. They're absolutely not. They can be very close to you. I understand the affection that a lot of people feel, but they're not actual children.
exactly. I mean, it's the culture. I don't get it. It's the entitlement. I don't get it. But some of you that are listening might not agree with us, but this is how we feel, people. This is how we
Yeah.
feel.
I like to go on
Okay,
the
let's
record to say that I don't care if you don't agree with me. I see lots of people disagree with me because I see these dogs running around without leashes.
Exactly, exactly. But we're gonna get into another topic. Hello everyone. This is another episode of the Network, our podcast. I'm being joined by Lauren Young Durbin. Lauren is a career change coach who helps women who are unfulfilled in their current career positions to discover their next career path and define success on their terms. Offering career assessment, resume writing and review, LinkedIn review, and one on one coaching. And we want to welcome Lauren to the Network Hour today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am excited to have you here. I know we were shooting the breeze a little bit and talking about some stuff, but today our topic is finding and elevating career confidence. And so, before we get into the nitty gritty of the questions, I want to ask you how do you relate to this topic? What did this topic means to you?
I relate to it on a lot of different levels. I relate to it in the sense that a lot of times we dull our own sparkle because we don't want to seem like we're bragging or too much. And I was one of those people who did. I was always saying, "Oh, it's my team, oh, it's my team," not realizing that the leadership matters a lot too. The team couldn't get much done without strong leader. Um, and also, it's just having confidence in yourself and what you can do. And I personally I've struggled with that in the past. I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, I am who I am. You take it, leave it. If you don't like it before you leave it, that's all right. Keep on walking, running. I don't care. Cycling. So for me, it's both professional and personal, and it's um I see it in all my clients, like literally every single one of them, like some aspect of.
So is that the first step, having confidence in yourself? And I know sometimes that's easier said than done. So how does someone who is accustomed to let's say who has been plagued by imposter syndrome, because that's part of that as well. How do you combat that?
Well, think about your wins. And if you have a hard time thinking about your wins and you think about the team, think about things that because almost everyone has had some kind of success, some kind of reward, some kind of acknowledgement. Think about those things, whether it's just, and if for some reason you haven't won an award at work, whatever, fine. Think about a goal that you set and that you accomplish. I mean, it's as simple as that, thinking about your successes. And then once you start thinking about that, that helps build confidence because you realize I have done this before or done something similar or something as large. So it's really just going back in the past and pulling out your success stories. And sometimes the success stories aren't as obvious. Sometimes they seem like failures, but if you learn something from something that is considered a failure, I always say a failure is only if you don't learn something from it, but you are able to rectify and come out on top counts too.
Yeah. And you said something earlier, it's not just professional. I think because we work so many times in our lives, like we were talking about our week earlier and how much we worked, and I've discussed this before, that a large portion of our lives are spent working. And so what
Mhm.
happens is that we forget about the personal wins as well. We forget
Yes.
about our personal happiness and all of that stuff. And then we might be looking and saying, I haven't accomplished anything in life, but you brought forth a child. That's legacy, right? You bought a house. That's financial wealth. You have a husband. That's family life balance and all that stuff. That is success. And I don't think people look at that as achieving success in their lives.
Yeah, when I need to pull from my resources, my success resources for my personal life, I start running in my mid 30s. Before then, I was like, I'm only running if someone's after me or a dog or something's after me. I'll become like Usain Bolt if I have to. So I decided that I was going to take up running for some reason. I was like, I'm gonna run. So I did the Coach to 5K app, and probably within a year, I ran my first half marathon, and I started running multiple half marathons
Wow.
a year. So when I'm like, I can't do this. I remember, wait, when you started, I literally couldn't run 15 seconds straight. And then you go to running. I went from to running, what is that, 13.2 miles all at once without stopping, except to get to water or something. And so it's like something like that. Like it has nothing to do with my business or my work, but I put in the effort and built up to it because it was rough. It was rough going. And it doesn't even have to be that big. It's just like perfecting a recipe. That's always good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're better than me because I hate running. My sister takes me running all the time, and we do the park. I do at least one lap, and then my knees started to act up, and my
Yeah.
it started hurt, and I'm like, no, I can't do this. It's hurt. But yeah, you're right. It's important for us to finding and elevating that career confidence is about giving it a try, right? And being
Yeah.
able to not give up when it gets hard. So stepping into that, what are some of the challenges women, and not just women, people face in doing that, in finding and elevating their confidence?
I want to say, one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about this conversation we're going to have is that I mean, I'm assuming I'm just bringing you on board who I'm getting ready to say. We're saying career confidence and personal confidence while acknowledging there's systemic and societal pressures on women. Um, so that doesn't mean that the reason why you're not performing or women aren't advancing isn't it's just because they have lack confidence. I don't think either one of us saying that because there are definitely systemic and societal pressures and issues going on that
Yeah,
is where a lot of our lack of confidence comes from. And so I would say the biggest challenge is overcoming, particularly societal expectations that, you know, if you say I accomplished this or I did this, from women, it seems as bragging. It's like bragging is bad. And I'm like, it's not a brag if it's true.
hmm,
It's stating a fact.
yeah,
So I would probably say that's the biggest thing, getting over the whole brag or letter word. Um, idea and that it's bad, but you did it. It's a fact. So I would say that's probably the biggest challenge. Um, and then secondary to that, um, would be having, finding that as I call a well, because like I have to like go down. Sometimes it's deeper to get like inspiration I need at a particular moment, but it's just building up that well and that being able to pick out to have several things like big,
yeah.
large, whatever. So I would say those are two of the biggest ones.
Yeah, and you talk about societal challenges, uh things that are put on us that we try to go at, and sometimes you're pushing and like you're not reaching anywhere. And I remember this quote from Michelle Obama that I really love, right? The former first lady has spoken, and she's written about how as a young woman she used to lie awake at night asking herself, am I too loud, am I too much, dreaming too big? And she says, eventually I just got tired of always worrying about what everyone else thought of me. And she said, so I decided not to listen. And I think that is such a great quote from her book, because that's part of building confidence as well. It's not always listening to others around you, not letting those negative things, stereotypes into your space.
Yeah, definitely. I know I definitely I've run into that. I tend to be very direct and I mean I can be diplomatic, but usually I don't need to pull from my diplomatic thing because what I say isn't incorrect or mean. It's just direct because I don't like to twist around things. So that was one of the things I always worried about when people are like, Ooh, like if I've had in work, they're like, "Well, you can't be front facing because we're not sure how you act in front of the client." And I'm like, "Rude." But but we all have those things, like you say, am I too loud? That's also one of ones. Am I too outspoken is a very common one that women face.
Hmm.
Um, I've gotten to the point now where I see those things as badge of honor. That's basically when someone says that to you, that means you're making them uncomfortable. And one of the questions asked, I start asking people that really makes them uncomfortable, but I love asking it because I like seeing their face. I mean, it's not pettiness, but whatever. I like to ask them, um, am I intimidating or are you intimidated? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's yeah, because 'cause I'm like, it's not I mean, I can't control how you feel. I can control who I am, and how you take that is how you take that. But if I'm not doing something mean or nasty or negative, but you're like, "Oh, you're just too much," that's on you. That's a you problem. It could be me problems, like I don't get the client or whatever, but still,
Hmm.
stalling your shine and not being who you are really isn't the answer. It just isn't. It just cause
Yeah.
a lot of emotional, mental, and eventually physical issues because you know you're not being true to yourself. Um,
Does the career you're in or the place that you work at, your workplace environment, does that affect your confidence as well?
yes, absolutely. Because depending on where you work, you may have people who are trying to dull your sparkle, who will tell you um, that you didn't do what you did. Um, for instance, I'll just give a quick story, like, for myself, when I worked at, LexisNexis, I worked on Pennsylvania, uh, cases. Pennsylvania was my state. I did the case law and all that stuff, and worked on the historical citations, and I had to figure out how to but get them all the way back. I think it was 1690 was the earliest statute in Pennsylvania, so I had to figure out from there to 1972, I think, when they recodified like, I had to do this whole thing, and then I had to train other people, and my boss during at that time, he told me that I did not do it. Like, "Sir, please, what?" He's like, "No, this other person did it." And it took me a second, and I was like, "Wait, did I do it?" It's like, "Oh, I did do it. This is crazy." So you'll often find people who want to assign your successes to someone else or
Hmm.
downgrade your success or take your success and they claim it for themselves. So, yes, you will often run into that. And they do it for various reasons, but you have to keep top of mind that who you are and what you've done, regardless of
Hmm.
what they say.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's important to get away from, if you're in a toxic environment, try your very best to get away from that environment. I have a story too. I was working for this company and I am not a happy-go-lucky person, but I'm a pleasant person. So I remember going into that office and on a weekly basis, I would come into the office and somebody would be yelling with the boss, the sales guys and the boss, they're back and forth, they're yelling and they're
Oh,
cursing, curse words, and we're right outside hearing everything. And it started to affect how I go when in at work. It started to affect how I speak. It started
mhm,
to affect how I corresponded with my other colleagues. And I think at one point I had a meeting with my boss, evaluation or whatever, and he had the audacity to tell me that I am not pleasant, I'm rude. And I was like, what? It's like I'm not the one that comes into the office every week and yell profanities in the office to you and to others. I come in normal because I might not be happy go lucky and smiling. I mean, I don't accept that. I don't receive that. I think that's unfair. And so I had to get myself away from that because I'm like, when you come to the point where you're in an environment or workplace where it starts affecting your own personality and how you go in feeling, then that's going to affect your confidence in what you're doing and your output at work and all of that stuff as well.
Yeah. It was funny when you're saying that. I'm like, you mean rude like that? Pleasant
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah,
comment?
yeah. It was
Sweet.
it was crazy. It was just crazy. I'm telling you, it was crazy. But I think that just he just wanted somebody he couldn't offload on the other guy or the people that was doing it, and he just wanted to express himself. But yes, for those of you that are listening, the work environment it will jeopardize your personal and how you approach and all of that stuff, your productivity and all that stuff. So run away from it if you can.
Moonwalk if you have to.
So I wanted to ask this question. This is another roadblock that I think is happening, and I don't know if you're into politics, but my sister and I are into a lot of politics. We're not going to talk politics here, but because I don't want anybody stoling me on this platform. But recently, Joe Biden announced his run for presidency again, right? And the consensus of a lot of people, even people on his own side, is saying that we need someone younger. He's too old. So my question to you is, how does ageism play a role in our confidence? Because even us as women, we experience that as well in the workplace, in the corporate environment. So how does that affect us finding and elevating our career confidence?
I think you like trying to think of well, not how to give my answer without bringing politics into it. I think one of the ways that you do is that you lean into your accomplishment. Um, Instead of thinking about your age, you think about your experience, and that's a
Yeah,
way to reframe it. Um, because and people are like, "Well, your experience is because your age." I'm like, "No, some people have a lot of experience when they're younger. It doesn't matter." But you can't change your age. There's nothing you can do about that. There's no reason to really dwell on it. And dwelling on it is just going to make things worse because then you fall when then you start
yeah,
spiraling down. So it's reframe it to think about it as experience as opposed to, oh, well, I'm old or yeah, I'm too old for a job. I'm too old to change. It's like, well, no, I'm very experienced. My skills and experience are transferable. So you just have a bigger arsenal than someone who may be younger.
yeah. And you hear people say that all the time. I'm too old to upscale. I'm too old to go back to school. And who's going to hire me? Because there's all these young people coming out of college.
Mhm.
And I think that's a real thing. It's a real challenge that people face in questioning themselves is, do I fit in here? Right? You
Mhm.
know? So yeah, I think yeah, that's really something.
And it's also kind of the case of when you falling back on what you just said about do I fit here? If you are interviewing or working someplace where you're experiencing a lot of ageism, and maybe you don't fit in there. Like it's not a good environment for you. Um, if it's ageism and people are like, "Oh wow, I'm surprised you can do that because you're a boomer." 'Cause everyone's a boomer. Apparently, if you're over 25, you're considered a boomer. But even though that's not right. But yeah, just so it's not a good fit, and it's not because of you or your age, it's because of them and their limiting beliefs and understanding. And again, that's about understanding that it's not really about you, not to take it personally, even though it's affecting you personally, that it's a them issue.
Yeah, yeah, that's very important to note. So we are on our last question.
This is fun.
Time goes by so quickly.
I
I feel like
know.
we have so much to talk about. But I want to give you an opportunity to tell us what are some of the things we can do to find and elevate that confidence. Do you have a 3 pointer or steps? What can you say to people today that this is how you go about starting to find that and start elevating that confidence?
In terms of immediate steps that people could take, I would really start making a list of your accomplishments. Write it down if you're a writer, put it in your phone. If you're on the train, you can just put down three at a time. I brought in $1 million sales or $15,000 sales, whatever. Just start listing all of your accomplishments, and then review those and realize, oh yeah, I've done a lot. So anyone who's listening to this podcast, they're accomplished, um, and they want to do better, and because they're listening to this podcast. So I would make a list, review it, and take away those experiences that are transferable, because at some point we're all going to like have jobs or positions where we're going to change. So
Hmm.
if you have that deep arsenal of experiences and skills, you'll feel a lot more confident because you're like, no matter what happens, I got something, I have a story to tell. I can tell them about this experience, or this skill is transferable to this position. Um, so yeah, those, I guess that'll be my 3 point. And make a list, check it twice, and think about what what skills and experiences are transferable.
Yeah. I do that exercise at least once every 3 months, just to remind myself. And sometimes when I'm getting ready in the mornings for work and I'm doing my makeup and stuff in the mirror, I say affirmations to myself. And sometimes I'd be really goofy with it. And I'd be like, Molly, you are the shit.
Mhm.
And it does help to boost that confidence. Even yesterday when I had that event to do, it was just not my event alone, but it was with the New York chapter of the National Black MBA. And before that, I had a little panic creep in, wanting it to go well, wanted every people to come out and really enjoy themselves. And I had to take myself in the mirror again and say, "You got this." And
Yeah.
sometimes that is what we have to do to just boost ourselves up because we already know how to do things. Like you
Mhm.
said, we're already qualified, we're already successful. It's just about reaffirming yourself. So I really love that.
Yeah. Have a theme song. My theme song when I need to pump myself up is Hate on Me by Jill Scott.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Oh, okay.
so it's like it starts with horns. I'm like, yes, yes, hate on me. So that's my theme song when I really need to pump myself up.
Oh
Is
yeah. Oh my
Hate on
gosh.
Me.
I love and I used to play it when I had meetings with women and stuff. I love Alicia Keys' This Girl Is on Fire.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's a
a
good
really
one.
good pump up song. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so this was so awesome. We are to the end of our discussion, our podcast. And I want to say to you guys, I hope you gained something from our discussion today, whether it be from our fun parts or from the real serious parts where we talked about finding and elevating your career confidence. And I hope today that you would really look into finding that confidence because it's not good going through life for most of life working and not finding that confidence because confidence relates to happiness, relates to you living a life of peace and prosperity on this earth until it's time for you to go. Any
Yes.
last words, Lauren?
Um, no, love, peace, and hair grease. I don't know. I don't. I
Peace and hair grease. I love that. Okay, tell the people where they can find you, how they can contact if they want to work with you. Let us know all of that.
Sure. I pretty much live on LinkedIn, Lauren Young Durbin, Durbin. You can also, I'm there every Tuesday. Molly was actually a guest on my Tyche Tuesday talks at it's Tuesday, every Tuesday at noon. And you can hit up my website at tychecoaching.com, tychecoaching.com.
Great. And I saw that someone won the
Yes.
Tacky Tuesday giveaway.
Yes, Paris. I don't remember her last name. I wouldn't say if I did, but Paris, you
Yeah,
won if you're listening to this.
yeah, that that's great. That's awesome. So thank you so much for stopping by and sharing and dropping some gems with us. As usual, everyone, this has been another episode of the Network Hour podcast. Live, laugh, and love. And until next time, bye, everyone.
Bye.